Hello and welcome to Painotopia.com. In this video I would like to talk about trigger points in the Latissimus dorsi muscle. I will explain you how trigger points in this muscle get activated, and then I will tell you what to do about it. Let us get started with how trigger points in the Latissimus get activated. Trigger points in this muscle usually are a result of strong mechanical overload that most of the times only occurs in sports. Thus, people, and that's very interesting, that suffer from trigger points in the Latissimus dorsi are almost exclusively athletes or highly active persons. So what kind of mechanical overload are we looking at here? We are looking here at two movements of our shoulder joint. And those two movements are, first of all, adductions. I will show you what that is in just a second. And the second thing we're looking at are extensions of the shoulder joint. So what is an adduction? An adduction is when I move my arm from this position to this position. When I bring my arm towards my body, towards here, my torso. This is an adduction. What is an extension of the shoulder joint? An extension of the shoulder joint is this movement or this movement when I bring my arm backwards. Okay, so those two movements are very often problematic if they're executed with strong force. When does that happen? I will give you a couple of examples. If you're into fitness and you're doing lat pull downs, for example, or pull-ups, you are starting in this position and then you pull yourself up or you pull a weight down, right? And what is happening here while you're pulling yourself up or you pull something down? Exactly, you're doing an adduction movement. You bring your arm towards your body, you press it here. Another example is, for example, doing strength exercises on the rings. For example, dips. You are in the rings and you have to press your arms towards your body, so a strong adduction movement in order to stabilize yourself, right? That the rings don't move somewhere where you do not want them to move. And this requires a strong activation of the Latissimus dorsi. And this can be already enough for mechanical overload. So everything on the rings involves heavy activation, at least at some point in the movement of the Latissimus dorsi. But also swimming, for example, the crawling, you have strong activation of the Latissimus dorsi. But here it's not an adduction, but rather the extension of the shoulder joint that, with a lot of force, that might become problematic. Another thing that is very popular right now is rock climbing and bouldering. And also here we have a combination of those two movements very often. We have to adduct our arm in order to pull us up somewhere, or at least to hold us at the wall, that we do not fall down. And at the same time, we have sometimes an extension, and we pull ourselves towards the wall and not up. So we have sometimes one of those two movements or either a combination of this, and this also requires heavy activation of the Latissimus dorsi. So, and this might lead to trigger points in this muscle. This might activate them, especially if you execute those movements when you're not properly warmed up, or when you're tired, or if you just overdo it with the progression of your intensity and your training. If you're progressing too fast and your muscles can't adapt, you don't give them sufficient time to adapt. That's a very common problem. Or if you do not execute enough things to counterbalance those mechanical tensions or overloads. In this case, right, it might get an overload, the tension might get an overload. It's not the same thing, but I think you get what I want to say here. If you don't counterbalance that by relaxation exercises, by massage, by stretching, and so forth. So this is what leads to trigger points in the latissimus dorsi muscle. So let's move on with the topic what to do about it once those trigger points are active and are troubling you. The first thing that is very important to do if you want to deactivate trigger points in the latissimus dorsi is to apply a self-massage on this particular muscle, on those particular points. A lot of people might have never done that, are completely new to the whole topic or the whole concept of self-massage, of self-treatment, and they have no idea where to apply the pressure, how much pressure to apply, and why that is important after all. And for everyone that is like this, that is completely new to trigger point self-treatment, I highly recommend to sign up for the free trigger point course, because this course will address all those topics. It's completely free and you can sign up by clicking on the button or the link below this video, and then you will receive this course. And it will address all those topics. It will address again in a little bit more detail how the trigger points develop or get activated in general, what is the physiological basis of that, and that's very important if you want to get out of pain in the long run, if you do not want your pain from coming back. It's very important to understand how those trigger points really work. That's very important, and the course will address that. So that's the first thing that's very important. And once you have done that, once you signed up for this course, and I really hope you do so because it's really cool, I also highly recommend to check out my website if you are seeing this video on YouTube and not embedded on my website, because there too I will give you plenty of tips on how to massage that muscle and a lot of other muscles too. Having said that, I have a few more good infos for you. I would like to give you an advice how to keep the trigger points from getting activated again and again and again once you did deactivate them, once you got rid of them by applying a self-massage. And there are two things that are super important here. Thing number one is pacing, and thing number two is rest periods, right? You might heard that a lot of times, but it's really important, and I would like to point out why. And they're interrelated, you will see in just a second. Pacing. Pacing means the speed, the pace that you progress in your training intensity. And it's very important to do it at a very small increments, so that your muscles actually have the possibility to adapt to the new stimuli that you put on them. If you do not do that, if you progress too fast, it's almost given that trigger points either will get activated for the first time maybe, or that they come back again and again if you had them and deactivate them. You have to really to get your pacing right, and it's a very individual thing. And pacing is also, in my opinion at least, very interrelated to your rest periods. You have to rest long enough before you put a new training stimulus on your muscles. It's a very basic thing, but it gets neglected so often by so many people that I cannot emphasize it strong enough. So really, those things are very fundamental. Get your progressions right. Rather progress very slow, so that you think you're progressing too slow. Most of the times that's then a perfect pace to go, right? And the second thing, do rest. If you do a strong full body workout, you can rest at least for a day. That's no problem. You do not have to work out every single day. At least not if you do heavy, very intense workouts. Then definitely not. So get those two things right, and I really think you're in a good way of preventing your pains that are initiated from the latissimus dorsi to come back over and over again. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would like to thank you a lot for your time watching it, and I'm quite sure that we will see each other in one of my other videos quite quite soon. Bye-bye.